We have tonight a number of important things on the agenda. One of the important things will be a department report on approval of a resolution to direct publication of notice of intent to apply to local government commission for a bond referendum that if passed tonight, if the resolution is passed, the referendum will be conducted at the November election. This is a very important matter, and it's the kind of thing that some people would say, well, why don't you have a public hearing on this? This is the sort of thing that doesn't call for a public hearing because the hearing will be the vote of the people in November. We do want to hear anything that anyone would like to say about this referendum, proposed referendum, before we have that report. And the time to do so will be now during the section of the meeting set aside for people who want to be heard. We have already signed up Mr. Steve Ivester, who would like to speak on a couple of topics. As always, we do keep time. We sort of set a guideline of 3 minutes, and you will be reminded at 3, 6, 9 minutes. But we have a commitment that we don't want people leaving here who had something important to say and didn't get a chance to say it.
On 2 topics, I may need about 5 minutes, no more. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Berry, and Mr. Cron of the Council, I rise this evening to speak on 2 topics. First, I wrote and spoke to you on and around the March 21st public hearing asking you not to sell the Cottinger Mill corner to MAB. I see that now we have a request for indefinite extension on their due diligence period. While the city is holding earnest money of $45,000, I understand this money can be reclaimed by a simple cancellation request from MAB and for no other reason. At the March 21st meeting, I asked you to consider the proposal by Ms. Greathouse that would have bought the city $900,000 immediately in return for a promise to keep that land as part of the proposed park. Ms. Greathouse's proposal was a surprise to you as well as me. You chose not to ask her a single question about her proposal. For the record, the next day I called Ms. Greathouse and I asked the question, were you empowered to write a check to the city last night for $900,000? Her answer was a simple yes. She did not choose to discuss beyond that. Now, I don't know why not one of you asked her at least that simple question before your vote. It sure made it seem that the outcome had been decided before the public hearing. In fairness, on the Howell Road show the next Monday, the mayor said that he voted against the sale, hoping to preserve both the land and money for the city while finding a nearby alternate site for the maybe upscale grocery store. I agree with that thinking. A motion to table may have sufficed. On a second issue, and that's because this is the only chance we're going to get to address this issue. I would like to...
In November. In November or the months leading up to that.
I would like to discuss the proposed bond issues. Plural, I hope. I am on the Innovate Catawba Inspiring Community Committee. I have attended all or most of its meetings. I have attended several public inspiring spacing events, and I have watched the recent bond issue presentation by staff at Ridgeview on YouTube. For clarification, I did not participate in or vote for the Citizens for Equity in Government initiative. I do not represent any group, interest, or party except myself. My concern is the integrity of process in City Hall. While the sale project is liked by many, others still have concerns with it. But all do not have to agree. The funds used were from the parking fees and were supposed to build a parking deck near Union Square. However, this diversion to the sales project was probably within your proper authority. But I must say that I resent that the fund was treated almost as a slush fund beyond the concerns or interests of the citizens of Hickory. In fact, I was told that right here in these chambers by staff the night you decided to proceed with the project. As I said, my concern is integrity of process. By your own breakdown, the project ran at least 73% over the original budget. You show total cost of $496,056 versus an original budget of $285,976, 73% over. And I am not convinced that all city direct labor was included in those figures. I am a licensed professional engineer and understand that projects can run over budget. My real concern here is that the citizens never received a simple accounting of how and with whom the funds were spent or who had staff responsibility for the project. I had been told by a former city department head that in staff meetings they were told that the citizens have no right to clarification under the NC Freedom of Information laws. Without getting into well-publicized details on this project, city staff proceeded on that theory with unfair and unfortunate consequences. In short, I think the high-handed and irresponsible behavior of the city staffs on the sales project cast doubt on city staff's ability to manage any project of this type. I like many aspects of the Inspiring Spaces proposal. However, what was guessed to be a $90 million project has suddenly become a $25 million bond issue. Someone's not shooting straight. And I think the city staff needs to show its ability to responsibly handle smaller projects first. Further, recent apparent efforts to dodge the political responsibility for needed tax increases are not an appropriate use of proceeds from a bond issue. On the other hand, I do think the proposed industrial park fills a real and immediate need for jobs in our area. And it fits pleas that I have heard from the Economic Development Corporation for the past several years for major development sites and major industrial sites in our area. I do wish that I understood better if this will be like Fairgrove Business Park with the city owning the land, or more like Catawba Boulevard and similar projects where the city has basically enriched the budding landowners to create tax base. Either strategy has its place, but the citizens deserve to know now. I urge you to put the $15 million bond issue for the industrial park on the ballot this November, but to delay any bond on improvements in the city until another cycle. I'd like to submit this to the city clerk, and I have copies for each of you. Thank you.
Can I ask you one, did you say that a $90 million proposal became a $40 million?
No, $80 million.
$80 million?
Am I wrong that you said that one time this thing might cost $80 million?
Well, you're finished, right? I just want to make sure I understood what you said.
Yeah. Was I wrong? Did you say that you...
Well, I'm going to talk next.
Okay.
Thank you. I have said consistently and believe strongly that the $40 million is just priming the pump. That we are going to have personal investments, we're going to have state and federal grants, and we're going to have philanthropic investments that will take $40 million, if that's the amount approved, and make it 120 or more. So yeah, we've talked about a lot of numbers that we think ultimately will be invested in Hickory if we prime that pump. And all you have to look at is the North Ryan Boulevard and the $500,000 to $800,000 total that we have in that, and the $18 million of investment that will be there when Moretz Mills is finished. That's the concept. We have never talked about the taxpayers being asked to spend $80 or $90 million. Thank you. Motion to approve the minutes of June 3rd.
I move approval.
Motion by Seaver, second by Zagaroli. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion's carried. I'm going to ask also, something I meant to ask and failed to. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
I would, Your Honor. Mayor. I've got courts on my mind since I had to go file papers in Newton today. Mayor, City Council, Mr. Berry, and Attorney Crown. Thank you for giving me time to be heard on the Inspiring Spaces bond referendum. As you know, I have spoken several meetings ago against this bond referendum. It does not surprise me at how many people in our fair city is against this referendum, but does not come forth to let you know that they are against it. I would like to thank Mr. Ivester for his comments and say to you, I have the same feeling about the management of funds raised by this city council, this city, and being used for other things that it was not being raised for. I have the same doubt in my mind about how you use taxpayers' monies for the things that you have a vested interest in. And when I say a vested interest, it's either to support what close friends, family members, or others that have control over this council want, and not what is in the best interest of all citizens of our city. I see all of these dilapidated buildings that remain, that you have in the past promised to bring down for the betterment of communities, but yet and still those buildings are still standing. Like the old Southern Desk building that you have been working on for over a year to bring it down, but it's still standing. I also made a phone call last week to the School of Government about conflict of interest. And I think that it was surprising to me to find out what I found out when I asked certain questions. For example, Mr. Leal, one of our city council members, is engaged and supposed to be getting married in November to one of the CEOs of Land Design. But yet still he discussed, he voted to approve that group to do the planning for Inspiring Spaces. Then at one of the meetings I found out that, and I don't know what relationship this person is, but they hold the last name of Zaccaroli. I don't know if it's council member Zaccaroli's daughter, daughter-in-law, or wife that was part of the group that was formed to discuss and vote on Inspiring Spaces. I know for a fact that when y'all met with the group Land Design out of Charlotte, y'all found out from their attorney that the group that y'all put together to come up with this design from Lenore Ryan to 6th Street, northwest and southwest, that there were individuals sitting on that committee that you chose, and you chose them because you knew they would be a rubber stamp for what you as a city council wanted, and not what the overall community wanted. I ask you, how can we always come up with money, however you decide to do it, but the things that you want, that you claim beautifies our city, when you're only targeting certain areas of our city? Just like you target Union Square with the sales on the square that you spent. We estimate, and when I say we, myself and others in this city, to be almost $1 million, and you said it was less than $500,000 or right at $500,000. but yet still you dip into funds that were set aside for other projects. Those projects have never come about, but the money was used. Just like this city raises $5 from every tag purchased in this county or this city from the tag office, but yet still that money does not go for sidewalks, because I called a week ago or a week and a half ago about the sidewalks on 2nd Avenue between 3rd and 1st Street Southwest because of all of the torn up pavement or concrete of the sidewalk. And I was given a call back by Public Works that told me it would be about 2 weeks before that could be done. And I just cannot imagine why
6 minutes.
we have so many things that need to be cared for, but yet still you can't ever seem to find the time or money to do it unless it's something that you want done. I do not feel like we as citizens have to come to you and ask you to do things that you have street workers, public works workers, police officers, and others that are up and down these streets every day of the week, 7 days a week, that don't notice the things that need to be done for the betterment of communities and citizens who have no choice but to utilize it. And just like I said a few minutes ago, I went to Newton today to file papers on a lawsuit that I personally have because of an injury on a sidewalk that was caused by a trash can sitting in the middle of a walk on a one-way street that was not removed when trash was picked up on Wednesday in that area, but it was Friday when the incident occurred where I was injured. And I was told when I called to report it, well, we have 3 days to remove something after we made aware of it. And I asked, how many public works employees traveled that road from Wednesday to Friday when that accident occurred that caused an injury, but yet and still you try to say we have no liability? And I beg to disagree that you do have liability. And I guarantee you that when this goes before a jury, which I have asked for, they will find you negligent. And when they do, it would have cost a whole lot more to you as a city than it would be if Mr. Berry had simply said, when I made him aware of it and met with him and met with the risk manager, and I said, you know, make me an offer. But if you're not willing to do that, then it will cost you. And I guarantee you, it will cost you, because we as citizens of this city is tired of you doing whatever you feel like you can do with money that you raise from the citizens who live here, but do not want to do what you're saying we're raising that money for. So I hope that when this bond referendum comes up and the citizens vote no, that you will know that you're either going to have to do a better job or you're going to have to stop asking us, just like you did when you asked about the swimming pools that you closed down and the citizens in Northwest, Northeast Hickory said, you can raise our taxes. We want a swimming pool in each quadrant of this city. But yet still, that vote is still sitting on the shelf collecting dust, and you're now talking about splash pads, which is not acceptable to any citizen of this city. Thank you.
some of the people here do not come to meetings routinely. Mr. Pope has filed a number of suits against the city in the past, hasn't he?
I have filed several suits
Is this
because of your lack
Mr. Pope?
of keeping your sidewalks free of obstructions and barriers. And Bear, I'm going to tell you up front, when I leave this podium, I don't want to hear from you or anybody else. And I know that you will have your attorney write me another letter about my behavior, but you know, I really don't care.
I'm not gonna
Because
ask you
I don't
to
have to
write
read
any
it,
letter.
and I won't read it.
Mr. Pope, you turned
Okay.
around, you finished your time.
Well, I finished my time, and I don't want you talking and responding to what I've had to say. When you say we cannot answer questions that you might have at the time of your presentation. So I'm just saying to you now, and I'm saying to the rest of this council, I don't want to hear from any of you. When I'm at the podium or when I walk away from the podium, there's only two people that can respond to what I say, and I will respect. One of them is my father, which is now deceased, and the other is my mother, which is 89 years old, and I still have respect for her because she's my mother. Other than that, none of you have a right to respond unless I ask for it. And I didn't ask for a response.
Well, I'm gonna exercise my right of free speech.
Well, you can exercise all the rights you want, and I don't have to listen.
Whether anybody respects it or not.
I don't have to listen, and I won't listen. I'll tell you that up front.
Mr. Pope? Mr. Pope? The only thing I want to respond to, other than that, is the comment about control of this council. I don't know who has control of this council. I know I don't have any control over this council.
Yeah, but y'all make all
Mr.
decisions
Pope,
before you
Mr.
ever come to the public.
Mr. Mayor, I move that Mr. Pope be declared out of order.
We have a motion and a second that Mr. Pope be declared out of order. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Mr. Pope, if you refuse to follow the decorum that we want you to follow, we're going to have to ask you to leave this meeting from this point forward.
This is a public building meeting. I will be here until I'm ready to leave.
We set the decorum for these meetings, the taxpayers and voters of this city. And so we are declaring the decorum. But I want everyone to understand that to my knowledge, nobody has control of this council. Nobody has control of me. And only the taxpayers the voters have indirect control over me. And there's always elections, and people get to have their voice anytime we have an election. We have a motion to